Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Just a lovely day.
This is Nicole Chuck. I am here with
Marvin.
Dennis Candler, United Property Inspectors.
All right. He is one of the local professional home inspector companies. Well, he's not the company, he's the owner of the company. And we brought him on here today to talk home inspections. What are they? What do inspectors do? What do they not do? And what are the benefits? Why would anybody want a home inspection?
Great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
First of all, I'm in inspection business for, I think it's 17 years now, or maybe a little bit longer. I did my first one in 2004. So I've seen some ups and downs. The company is United Property Inspectors. We've been around since 1994. That being said, the industry in itself in California is a very different beast. We are one of 13 states that do not require home inspectors to have licenses. That poses some challenges. However, I prefer it this way because it allows me to differentiate the company, myself, our inspectors from the rest. However, from a consumer standpoint, I think it creates a little bit of a challenge because you don't really know what you're going to get in the state of California because there's no template for how we write reports. So it's very important to have the inspector be affiliated with some association. We are affiliated with InterNACHI. I believe their training, curriculum, and continuing education is by far the best. However, I do have licensed general contractors in the state of California that do inspections for me as well. They're typically super knowledgeable and write reports a little bit more on the detail side than most home inspections. I believe that in a fully disclosed report, the more detail we get, the better off everyone is.
Is it safe to say that like all of the inspectors that you have, you make sure are licensed? Because that's what differentiates you guys from others in the state.
I wish I could. If they don't have a general contractor's license in the state of California, my requirement is 6 months of on-site inspections with a trainer, myself, before they go out on their own. They also have to pass InterNACHI school, which is 120 hours. And they also have to pass a couple other things that I have required. I create my own curriculum for them to be ready. So
Awesome.
good question.
I have been working with Dennis for maybe 5 or 6 years, and I have met all of the inspectors, even the ones that have retired. And I can vouch and say that you absolutely have a training curriculum, and there's quite a few people who don't pass it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I believe that no person, one personality fits everyone. So, there's people that would not prefer me and prefer my other inspectors, and I'm totally fine with that. I actually prefer it. A lot of people can write reports on a condition of a property, but articulating the findings in a non-threatening, we call it a charge neutral language, being specific without scaring them is a skill. And it's an iterative process that we try to practice.
Yeah, this is the
Go ahead.
point of the process that like typically scares buyers. So, I always tell them like, okay, the inspector's going to come. His responsibility is to tell you anything that is wrong or anything that could go wrong in the future, because we want you to be aware of how to maintain a home, especially for first-time home buyers. So I always tell them, I want you to take the emotion and the excitement that you had when you got this offer accepted and the one that you're feeling today after you look at this inspection and meet me in the middle. Just meet me in the middle and we'll get through it. And if there's anything big on there, obviously we can go back and negotiate or, reconsider. But
Yeah,
I think it's always
that,
like, for agents, it's always the day that's a little scary.
you know what? You hit the nail right on the head. We, as the professionals, do this all day long, every day with multiple people. It's not an emotional transaction for us. Yet we're here providing a service to somebody that it's the most emotional transaction in their lives.
I want to go to the beginning and say, like, what is a home inspection and why is it important to get an inspection?
Yeah, I'll tell you our process. There's probably, it looks like 21 different areas. We start general building. What's the temperature? Where does the house face? How old is the house? Where are the emergency disconnects? Then we go to the grounds. How does the drainage look? Do we have sprinkler issues? Do we have drainage issues? Do we have perimeter drainage that are blocked, damaged, retaining walls that are falling down? Then we go to the exterior of the house. And grounds and exterior of the house also have electrical involved. So there's electrical components of both of that as well. So exterior of the house, the stucco, the siding, the type of exterior material it is, the windows, have they been retrofitted? Do they have solar screens on them? Is everything well maintained and caulked? How's the paint look? How does the trim and eaves, the eave vents, are they covered to not allow pests in there? So exterior. Then if there's any pool, exterior kitchens, electrical junction boxes, the main electrical panel is opened, looked at. Our HVAC condenser is typically on the outside. Sometimes it's on the roof as a main. Before we make our way inside, we'll start on the roof. We cover the roof. I just feel that a roof inspection should include somebody walking on the roof. And we're all taught how to do that. Sometimes a 2-story roof, you can't get that second pitch, but we can get most of it identified. Then we move into, the components, what's in a garage, safety features of a garage door, a water heater, typically attic. We go from the attic after that, and we, make a mental picture of what we saw on the roof. Hey, there could be a leak in this valley because there's debris filled up in that valley. Make it on down, make sure we get to that section in the attic if possible, and identify any roof leaks, past stains, clearance to combustible if a heater's there, type of plumbing. And then all of our appliances, wet rooms, bathrooms, laundries, kitchen, and then we do general interior. And at that point, when we're doing general interior, we usually fire up the heat and the air, make sure that those are both functioning as well while things are running. And then after that's all said and done, we write my own reports this way. We color code for convenience. Red is safety, blue is recommended repair, and green is general maintenance. So the red and blue are obviously the most important ones, and we recommend addressing those prior to moving in or closing escrow. And we walk the client around explaining which is going to be in the report and why, and answer those questions. And I think that is what differentiates us from the rest.
I think that's one of the really important things that happens, is because, especially, when you guys do inspections for my clients, is I tell them, like, if you can make it at the end to walk through things, it's going to be a lot easier when you get this report. Because the report can be anywhere from, let's say, 60 to what, Nicole? You got one that was 130 pages the other day.
I sure did, that 133 pager. It was fantastic. And I prepare my clients so they know that if they're getting, because I feel like the average report I get from your company is roughly 68 to 78 pages. This one was 133, but we were able to itemize each item. And then when we went to the sellers and said, hey, here are some health and safety items. We're not asking for cosmetic. We're not asking for foo-foo stuff. Here is a report. They were able to go through it and they're like, wow, we agree with you. If we were purchasing a home, it ended up being best case scenario. But because the report was so detailed, we then used that as our why we wanted it fixed.
What were you saying, Marvin?
Yeah, I just think it's important to do the walkthrough, because then when they see those pictures that you put in the report, they can say, oh, I remember where that is in the house. I can go back and look at it next time we're there, versus if you just get it and you're like, because sometimes these pictures are close up so you can see what the issue is. And then they're like, okay, but where exactly is that? And so when you're able to kind of put those two puzzle pieces together, I think that's why it's really important for the clients to come do the walkthrough with the inspector when they're done.
I totally agree.
That leads me to kind of one of my questions. After they get the report, can clients call the inspector with questions?
Yeah, what usually happens is call the office, get on my calendar. I'll go over the report with them. If there's something I can't answer, we get the inspector involved. But absolutely, that's what we're here for. My goal is to move real estate on the inspection side. So if I don't have that mindset, then you guys won't be using us very long. One is some of the Senate bills. I just want to brief you. They do apply to the home inspection industry. And the last one is pre-listing inspections and why I think they're important.
Can we ask you one last question?
Of course, anything you want.
I think obviously one of the most important things is cost for buyers, because they're trying to make sure everything fits into their budget. So what is the typical cost of a home inspection with UPI?
Our base fee is around $400, and that's for a 1,750 square foot house.
Mhm.
The older it gets, the larger it gets, the fees increase. Now, there's always discount codes for first responders or military or nurses or teachers, or so we always have some promotion going on. So
Mhm.
if your client is in need of some discount, we're willing to negotiate. We also offer a buyer's protection guarantee, and that is if we inspect a house that fell through for any reason and they choose us again to inspect the property, they get a $50 discount right off the top, just
Awesome.
because they're using us again and they're, trusting in us to save their investment. So real quick, there's two things I want to cover if I can. AB 1024 is the licensing bill for California for inspectors. It has failed several times in the Senate, hasn't been passed. So keep an eye on that. Senate Bill 407 is the plumbing fixtures. After 2017, all of our plumbing fixtures have to be water compliant. 1.2 gallons for flush, 2.2 gallons per minute on a shower head, those sorts of things. Nobody's enforcing these, but they are good to know. Pool safety, Senate Bill 442. There's 7 safety features on a pool safety bill, and those are big ones. Again, nobody's enforcing these. Perimeter fencing, water alarms, pool covers, door alarms, all of that we have to identify, regardless if we're doing the pool or not. And the last one is the battery backup for garage doors. After our 2019 fires in Paradise, when all the power went out, people basically stayed in the garage and couldn't get out, exit the house, because their garage door wasn't opening up. They didn't know there was emergency disconnect and they can lift it. So just wanted to say that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you included that. I mean, saving people's lives.
Yep.
That's important.
So pre-listing inspections, there's a couple things I want to say about that. I have an acronym, CVT. By doing a pre-listing inspection, you're saving control, value, and time on that transaction. Control, because you're not having somebody else come in, do another inspection. If you get all your inspections up front, it's already disclosed. You're not wasting time doing that. Value and equity, you're not negotiating that equity on the 11th hour after you're already moving on. Now they're negotiating the equity they had because of the current inspection. So those are big ones.
I love doing pre-listing inspections. I think it's really important because when on the buyer side, let's say if we do the inspection with them and there are issues, then you're probably going to end up crediting more or putting more money into something versus if you spend, let's say on average, the $600 to do the inspection up front, then either you can address those issues before you list it, or anybody who's walking through the door should be aware of what they're walking into.
And then the sellers aren't caught off guard, or either are the buyers. Like nobody's caught off guard, like, oh, what? There's this issue.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was that
So
statistic, Dennis?
The 15% of the contracts fail due to issues discovered by a home inspection. And that is ranked number 4 for a reason for a failed escrow. So that was Zillow Group Consumer Housing Trends. So getting it up front, I just think that's worth its weight in gold. And if you guys do a pre-inspection and you do find another buyer, I offer, for a fee, obviously, for that inspector to go back out with the new buyer, walk him through, because the walkthrough is so important. If they have questions on the report, show them where the emergency disconnects are, show them what the health and safety is called out for and why, rename that report to that new buyer and send it to them. So now they can call us if there's any issues coming up after they move in. So it's a win-win for everybody.
If you had 60 seconds to say why it's important to do an inspection on a new construction also, what would it be?
Well, nobody's perfect. We do find safety items and items that were not addressed on new construction. We've seen complete sections of roofs that are missing on a second story after they've lived there for a year. And we get into attics and not see plumbing vents going all the way through it happens. I don't know what else to say.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more content, and give us a comment if you have any questions about home inspections and how they work.